How about now? Yo, I think we are live now. Let me check my audio first. Let me check my audio first. Okay, for today live stream, I would like to learn the Motion.dev, and you watch me struggle by learning this package. So basically what I want to create is by creating slide using the Motion.dev, but before that I need to know how this works. I have some kind of code previously using Motion.dev and want to learn more deep dive for this one. So let's restart it. Anyway, if you don't know, there is no Framer Motion in the internet anymore. If you type Framer Motion in Google, there's nothing. The first keyword, the first site that appears is Motion.dev. And even though you opened up the npm package, it redirects you to the Motion one, to the Motion.dev. Even though the creator of Framer Motion and the Motion.dev is the same creator. Okay, anyway, let's restart by taking the tutorials of Motion.dev. I've already do some tutorial like CSS Spring until the HTML content. And here is my last tutorial that I've completed. Like whenever I'm using the HTML content is different with the previous tutorials, because in this one, in the React HTML content, it using something called motion values. So maybe I need to explain what I have already learned. Let's see that what will happen here. By the way, I'm using NeoVim. If you don't know my code editor. Okay, I'm using Fit here, just simple React app with Fit. And I also have the turn stack router. And we get this one, it's React HTML content route, React HTML content route. Okay, there is nothing. Let we start by creating a simple counter. Const count equal with use motion value of 0. And anyway, if you see that the X icon in my left line number, it is because my ESLint I'm using width. And if there is something that I'm not use, it will give the error. But that's not the case for creating our animation. Let's try to refresh. There's nothing happen. And let me return something here. Maybe return the pre tag. And let's we return the count dot get. Wait a second. Count dot get something. Get nothing. Use motion value. I think there is something. Okay, if we just type count here, we get an error because this is an object. We see that here motion value, the type of our count is motion value. If we look inside use motion and we go to the motion value itself, yep, this is a class. So if we use the class and we create something like this, we call the class use motion value. So we will get the instance of that class, or in JavaScript it's called object. So that's why we have this error, objects are not valid as a React child. Yeah, that's fine. But I think in the motion value, this one motion value, we can grab the value itself. Let me check. Yep, x.get. Okay, so I think we can get like that. And if we refresh, yeah, we get the 0 number. But let we style it maybe with the font size 64 to make it a little bigger. Okay, it's quite bigger right now. And what I'm trying to do is to animate this number from 0 to 100. And let's we create use effect, because at the first render I would like this to be animated, right? So I just paste the empty array in use effect. So whenever I render the component at the first time, this will trigger. What we need to trigger, that's the next question, right? If we look that we have the animate API. Where is the animate API? Maybe I need to check it here. Motion.dev animate. This one. Why it's in JavaScript? Wait a second. Why it's just only appears in JavaScript? We have the animate, this one animate, but in React there is no animate. Okay, anyway, let's start by doing this. We are using the animate function from Motion.dev. We can animate something. And for the arguments, it uses declaration keyword from TypeScript. I will show you that because I've already imported the animate from this particular thing from Motion React. So if I go to the definition of animate, I'm using a NeoVim, by the way. If I click G and D, so I directly go to the definition of what I select. For the example, this one is animate, and you see that here we get the declare const animate, and we have some different values here, some different argument that we can use. For example, the sequence, the string, the number. Basically, if you know the TypeScript, it's called something function overload TypeScript. It is the same thing with function overload, this one. Yeah, whenever you have different input but you have same output, you can use function overload in TypeScript. Yeah, I think this is something similar with the function overload. Let me show you the concrete example. For example, I just use the animate, and what I want to animate is count, and it will become 100. And also we can have the option, I think. First one is the first one is value, the number. The second argument is we have the keyframes, and the third argument we have the options, which the value animation transition. I think we need to see the options because this is something that interesting of using declare. I said it previously that if we are using declare, it is the same thing with the function overload in TypeScript. So whenever I pass the number here, this is the number, count is number, 100 is a number. So the animate function know that I'm using this one because the value is number, the keyframe is number as well. So the options will be value animation transition with the number. We look here. This one is extend value transition, animation playback life cycle. Let's see value transition, and it is an object as well. Delay, and we have the duration. So we can use duration here. First we create the object like this, and duration maybe 10 seconds, right? And yeah, something that I need to show you also about the animate. Again, if we pass the number, it's automatically know that we using this argument, this particular argument. But if we use the string value, for example, we want to change the color of our DOM, we can use like animate, maybe const color. The first color is use motion value of 0000000. It's black, and I don't know, the red hex code FF00000. Okay, let's make the red equal with FF. Okay, FF0000. Okay, so if we want to use the animate but with the string value, we can use that as well. Animate the color, and we can pass the color of let's use the FF000, and the duration, let's we make 5 seconds. This is something interesting with the animate function in Motion.dev. So we don't need to create the animate number or animate string. We just have the union animate function with different arguments. So if we pass the string as the first argument, the animate function know that the second argument is also the string, right? If I pass, for example, number, I think it's got error, right? Because this must be motion value string. That's great. That's a great feature, one of great feature of using Motion.dev. Okay, if we look at our browser, I think there is no change anymore. Let's see that. Okay, there is no change because what we just display is count.get. What it does, whenever I call the get function, it just getting the initial value of our motion value. So if we want to have the animate things, we can use the use transform. Const rounded, for example, use transform. It is the callback function, and what we need to have is count.get, for example, and we can have the rounded one, but it will have an error because TypeScript type motion value number is not assignable to type React node. Yep, because we just render the pre-tag, not the motion.pre-tag. Right, we need to wrap it with motion. And if we look back, yep, we get this one. We get the animate. Because we are using the use transform. Basically, use transform derive the value from count.get. So if we make it mouth.round, we will get something like this. Yeah, it's cool. It's cool. What we should do next? We want to make the color from black to the red, right? So how to make this one? Maybe a style color. I don't know. Color is color. Yep, I think it's great enough. But we should make it 15 seconds, for example. Yeah, you see that the color is changed as well. Maybe let's make the same thing. Okay, that's great. That's great enough. Okay, let me comment my changes. Fit, learn about HTML content. Okay, what we should do next? Let's see. In this tutorials from Motion.dev, we already learned about HTML content. How about the keyframes? Keyframes step-by-step tutorial. In this tutorial, we are going to build the keyframes example step by step. This tutorial is rated beginner difficulty, which means we will spend some time explaining the Motion APIs that we have chosen to use and why, and also any browser APIs we encounter that might be unfamiliar to beginners. Okay, we use the browser APIs. Yeah, it is Motion.dev, but we still use the browser APIs for this. Okay, that's great. Here is a live demo of the example we are going to be creating. Okay, what is this? React keyframes. Okay, let's create the roots. React keyframes. And yeah, if you don't know, I'm using TanStack router. Whenever I create a new file inside the roots directory, it will create this boilerplate code for me automatically. So we got the create file root and its component, and we have our component function. I think I need to create also if we go to React keyframes in our browser, let's change the route React keyframes. We got the route component that render in our browser. It's really great if you want to try TanStack React router. TanStack router or TanStack router. Let me see first. Yeah, it's called TanStack router rather than the React router because this is the old version. Anyone that might come from this, I really suggest you that try to use the TanStack router because this is the modern way to use a router in React. Okay, let's look that. We get the hello React keyframes back here. So what it did, okay, first one is rectangle, scale up maybe 2x and make it circle, scale down 2x. Okay, that's great. So this is four keyframes because first one we have the okay, maybe if we want to debug the motion we can draw it. This is the first keyframe that we have, and then we make it like this. I think it's also used the rotation, right? No, first thing it's scale up and then rotation, scale up, rotation, scale down, rotation. Okay, this scale up, and then scale up, rotation, okay, and this one rotation, and I think it's scale down, I think something like that, right? Scale down, rotation, okay, rotation to this one. It is correct? I don't know. First one, this scale up, rotation, scale down, rotation. Okay, let's see what will happen. How to create complex multi-step animation in React using motion keyframe feature. With keyframes, you can define a sequence of values that you and your animation will progress through, creating rich and engaging animation. Keyframes are simple to define with an array syntax. Okay, cool. This will animate the X property from 0 to 100, then back to 50. Okay. Let's start with a basic square component. Width, height, background color, border radius. And let's animate, import from motion, style box. What is this? I think this particular thing. Yep. And creating the keyframe animation. To create our complex animation, we will use the animate prop to define arrays of values for different properties. Scale 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it's also have 5 arrays. Border radius, we can customize the animation by adding a transition prop. Duration, ease in out, okay, ease in out. Times, why we should have this time? Okay, repeat delay. The times array here adjusts when the timing of each keyframe occurs in the animation, where 0 is the start of the animation and 1 is the end. By default, keyframes are evenly spaced throughout the duration of the animation. Keyframes are evenly spaced throughout the duration of the animation. The repeat property makes the animation loop forever, and the repeat delay properties. Okay. I think it's different thing with this one. What the author tells inside this tutorial is different with this animation, because what I've seen, it's just using no, it's using the border radius as well. Yeah, I think it's the same thing with this one. Okay, let we create that. First, what we need to do is just maybe the simple div. We can call it motion.dev, import motion. I don't like the route component naming convention. Let's make it keyframes. Keyframes, and should we create the animate? Okay, what we should animate inside scale, maybe. Scale 1, 2, 2, 1. Okay, rotate. Okay, let's try to look at first. There's nothing because we don't style our div. Maybe background color is red. Width is 200 pixel and the height is 200 pixel as well, but I need to make it maybe just 50 pixel. Okay, great. Let's make margin top okay. We can rotate as well. 0 180 180 0. I don't know, let's try. Okay, that's great. We might want to use the transition and the duration maybe 2 seconds. Also we have the ease function, ease in out. Yep, that's great, that's great. Repeat, maybe repeat infinity, I don't know, I forget about this one. Okay, oh, that's cool, that's cool. Okay, let's go to animate another property of the border radius. We use the percent. I think we use the percent. Let's look. Yep, 0%, 50%. Okay, 50%. I think it will be like this. Yep. What happened if I just put it here? Oh. I think it's enough, but rather than make this, I'm I really concerned what happen if I do add some new value. What happened? Oh, I think for rule of thumb, we should have the same length of array for each attribute that we have inside the animate props. For example, if we have an array of 4, we should do everything that have length of 4. Yep, maybe like that. Okay, there's no problem. Creating the creep film animation. Yep, great. But why it's have 5 array length? 1, 2, 2. Okay, maybe this one. And we move it like this 0, 100 and 0, and I think it will be 0, and this one 50 and 0%. Okay, what is different? Okay, I think I need to create two div. Oh, sorry. I think I need to create two div inside my return function. To Motion.dev, I mean. Okay, so the second one, let's recreate it as flex item center. Oh, there is no autocomplete in my neofim if I'm typing class name using Tailwind class. Gap X maybe 20. Let's make it yellow. And what I need to do is just removing this and removing this, make it here 180. It will be the 0, it will be the 50%, and also this one is 0%. And let's look what happened. Okay, maybe I don't need the gap X. I need to make this one margin left instead. 500 pixel, it's great. Okay, let's make the border black. No, maybe just using the class name border gray 900. There's no border 2, border gray. Why there is no? Let's try to edit here border. Yeah, we have that. Should remove it. Yep, let's try to remove this one as well. It doesn't work. Yep, cool. Oh, my border is get animated as well. Okay, what's the difference? Oh, okay, there is something a little bit different. See that there is something different animation. If you make it closer, you might see the difference. Yep, that's cool. Let's add to our version control. Feed learn about React keyframes. Okay, that's easy, still easy. Let's move into the next tutorial. Keyframes is great. Keyframe wildcards. What is this? Introduction to wildcard keyframes. I think it's using gesture. Whenever I hover, it will get animated. The wildcard keyframes example shows how to create interruptible hover animation using motion wildcard keyframe feature. A wildcard keyframe is any keyframe that is null. A wildcard keyframes is any keyframe is that is null. When the initial keyframe is null, motion will use the current value of the property as the starting point. This allows even keyframe animation to be interruptible, unlike CSS keyframes. Hey. Okay. Let me look my OBS first. Oh, my hair. Okay, let's continue to learn about the Motion.dev. Wildcard keyframes. I don't know, this is my first time doing live stream. I don't know how to put the chat into my screen, so I don't need to navigate to YouTube Studio. Anyway, let's start learning the Motion.dev again. When the initial keyframe is null, motion will use the current value of the property as the starting point. Motion will use the current value of the property as the starting point. This allows even keyframe animation to be interruptible, unlike CSS keyframes. Get started. Let's start with the basic component. Wildcard keyframes. Wildcards. Oh, sorry. Wildcard keyframes.tsx. Let's change the React component name first. We add wildcard keyframes component. Wildcard keyframes component, and we opened up this wildcard keyframes. Cool. So what I need to do is creating the div with this background color and border radius. Okay, great. Let's we make import motion, and we make it motion.div. Let's we copy the background color style. The background color itself is this one, and 100 border radius is 5, width is 100 pixel, and the height is 100 pixel as well. Try to save. Let's look. Okay, we got this. I think we need to create the margin top of 100 pixel as well. Let's animate while hover. This one, I think, wildcard. The scale array start with null, which means use whatever the current scale value is. Use whatever the current scale value is. The animation when progresses through two stages. First from the current value to 1.1, then from 1.1 to 1. Oh. But the question, why we should make it null? Why not 1? Why it must be null? A wildcard keyframe is any keyframe that is null. Okay, I think what I like to do is break down what it says in my Excalibur. So I really like to break down each words that the author says. A wildcard keyframe. So we know that the keyframe itself. Why it's arrow? Oh, sorry. Keyframe. So the keyframe is, come on. The keyframe. Why it's okay? I think from here. Here we go. The keyframe itself is an array of the value, right? A wildcard keyframe is any keyframe that is null. Maybe what its style is about, if we have the null like this, null, or maybe for the last array that we have, it will get term of a wildcard. I don't know. When the initial keyframe is null, Motion will use the current value of the property as the starting point. Motion will use the current value of the property. Oh, I know that. I know. Previously, I asked about why it's not just 1 or this will become 1. Because if we use the wildcard, it's basically copy the current value of that property as the starting point. So for example, this is null. I know that. Let's say our value is 100. This is our previous value that we defined in style. And why I can't, okay, this one. We have 100. And if we do here, maybe not 100, maybe 1. And this one, this will be 1.1. This one. And this 1.1. But if we make null here, what will happen is it will copy the current value of the property as the starting point. So I think it will be 1.1 as well. Yeah, it's different thing when we make null as one value. Okay, that's great. That's great. Style. But one thing that I'm also consider is why the author call it as a wildcard. Why they use that terms? Maybe I need to tell it to my LLM. Cloudy. Oh, I am not logged in yet. I don't know. It is might be Prime again. I don't know. But let's try to log in. Okay, let's try to ask about why the author of Motion.dev call keyframe that have null value as a wildcard. I'm curious about this one. The author likely chose wildcard because of how null keyframe behaves. They act as a flexible placeholder that adapts to whatever value exists at runtime rather than being a fixed predetermined value. In programming, a wildcard typically means something that can match or substitute for anything. Asterisk in file system matches any file. Wildcard cards in games can represent any card. Wildcards in searches match any character. I know that. It doesn't specify a fixed value. Instead of hard coding a starting value like opacity 0, you use opacity null. It adapts to the current state. Motion dynamically fills in whatever the element's current value is when the animation starts. Oh, this is really great naming convention from the author. Why it's called the wildcard? Because it is dynamic value, not the predetermined value. For example, it's not opacity 0, it's opacity null. Okay, that's great. Okay, that's great. That's why it's called wildcard. Okay, makes sense. Makes sense. Let's try to, yeah. So what we want is to create like this whenever we hover. 1.1, 1.6, 1.1, 1.6. Okay. I think we can animate while hover. I think while hover. Animate, no, not animate. Just make it scale. The scale is first one is null. Null is wildcard. And 1.1, 1.6. Let's try. Yep, the same thing. Maybe we should add the transition. And yeah, what is the difference between this one? Duration. Oh, I think the transition inside while hover is for each keyframe that we add here. I don't know. The scale array starts with null. Okay, the animation then progress controlling. Okay, what is the difference between this transition and this one? Let's try. Transition is the duration. Let's try to look what happened. What if I make it 5 seconds? Yeah, it's really slow, but what happened if I just add another transition duration here, maybe 0.5 second? So what's the difference? Why we must use these particular things? I don't know. I still don't know. I still don't get it. What is the difference between the transition in global and the transition inside the while hover? But let's try to make it 0.5. And the is out. If you want to look what is the difference between is function in the motion, specifically when you're animating the website, you could see that the explanation from Emil Kowalski. He is the creator for animation on the web, animations.dev. It's really great. The explanation really great. This one, the easing blueprint. Maybe I just put it in our live stream. Let's. Yeah, this is some different easing blueprint that you can read and try to learn about each is function. Like for example, is out, is in out, is in, linear is, and the other. Okay, that's great. Cool. Okay. Okay, what happened if I just use null again? Let's make it null again, and then we scale up to 3. Oh, okay. But if I don't have this, yep. Okay, cool. Okay, got it. Now let's add precise control over when each keyframe occurs. By default, keyframes are evenly spaced throughout the duration of the animation. By adding a times array, we can control the exact timing of each keyframe. Oh, that's great. Okay, is, I think this one is, we can have is out and is in out. Yeah, great. The conclusion, create interruptible hover animation using well curved keyframes. Okay, interruptible hover. Given multi-step animation with precise timing control, use different easing function for different segments of animation. Create smooth transitions back to the initial state. Okay, that's all great. Yeah, I think for the live stream today, it's ended by this time. So see you in the next line. Thank you guys.